Hi, my name is Tony Ballard. I'm Director of Prison Outreach at the Gift of Chess. Our goal is to use chess as a cognitive rehabilitation tool to help those incarcerated change their lives. We hope you enjoy this video.
Hi everyone, Naveed here. So today I'm going to be starting a new series called How to Play Chess. So for today's video, I'm going to go over the rules and how the pieces move to get you guys started. So first I want to go over the chessboard. So the chessboard is an 8x8 square consisting of ranks and files. So your files are lettered A through H. So here we have the A file, the B file, all the way up the H file. And then here we have your first rank, then your second rank, all the way up to the 8th rank, making up 64 squares. And so each square is going to have its own name. So this square over here, as we see, it's on the A file, and it's on the first rank. So we call this square A1. This square over here, it's on the B file, and it's on the second rank. So we call it B2. This square over here, we see it's on the E file, and it's on the 4th rank, so we'd call it E4. And so white is always going to be set up on the 1st and 2nd rank, and black is going to be set up on the 7th and 8th rank. And so both sides start with 8 pawns, which are set up on the 2nd and 7th rank respectively. Then on the edge of the board, we have the rooks. Next to the rooks, we have our knights. Then we have our bishops. And then we have our royalty, which are our king and queen. And so one way you can remember how the king and queen is going to be set up is the queen is always going to go on her own color. So if you're playing white, she's going to go on a light square. If you're playing black, she's going to go on a dark square. And so each piece has its own value. So the pawns are worth 1 point. The bishops and knights are worth 3 points. The rooks are worth 5 points, and the queen is worth 9 points. So this model is going to help us when we're deciding if we should trade pieces or not. So starting with pawn movement. So pawns are always going to go 1 square forward, except on its first move. So if the pawn hasn't moved yet, you're allowed to move it 2 spaces. And so once black makes his move, if we want to move this pawn again, we can only move it 1. And so let's say black moves this pawn here. Now, these pawns can't move anymore. Now they're just facing each other. They're stuck. Unless white moves a pawn where black can capture it. So pawns captured diagonally. So if white were to move this pawn here, this pawn could now capture diagonally, like this. Pawns can also capture diagonally if another pawn moves 2 spaces and comes next to their other pawn. Then black's pawn can do what's called en passant or in passing, where it can capture diagonally like this. However, it can only do this on the move after white's moved 2 spaces next to his pawn. So if black makes another move and then white makes a move, then black can no longer capture this pawn. Next, we have our bishops. So the bishops are going to move diagonally. So you're going to have one bishop that's going to move across the light squares, and then another bishop that's going to move across the dark squares. So for example, this bishop could come all the way here and capture this pawn over here. And now the king is attacked. And so notice the computer won't even let me move this pawn. When your king's under attack, you have to move it out of check. You have to move it. Next, we have our rooks. So the rooks are going to move up and down and side to side. However, a rook can never jump over another piece. So for example, this rook can only go up to H2. It can't go past where this pawn is. And this rook cannot go past where the king is. And this rook, if it wants to go straight, it can go all the way up and capture this pawn or up to any square before it. Now, knights are a little special because they can jump over pieces. And so the knights are going to move in like an L shape. So it can go up 2 and then over 1 on either side. Or it can also go up 1 and over 2 to the side. And notice a knight is always going to go onto the opposite color from where it started. So for example, this knight is starting on a light square, so it can move into any one of these 3 dark squares. And so let's say we move this knight here, black moves his knight. Now we'd be able to capture this pawn over here, going up 2 over 1, right here in an L shape. Lastly, we have the king and queen. So the queen is kind of like a bishop and rook combined. It can go up and down, side to side, and diagonal. And the king can only go 1 square at a time, diagonal, forward, or to the side. Now I'm going to go over check and checkmate. So as we mentioned earlier, so when your king is in check, you have to get out of check. So right here, this rook is attacking this king. So there's 3 ways you can get out of check. So you can either move your king, you can block with another piece, or you can capture the piece that's attacking your king. And so here, black can do all 3. So we can move this king over here. Now the king is out of danger. We can block with this knight over here, or this bishop can capture this rook, and now we're no longer in check. However, you wouldn't want to, if black were to block with the knight, then white can capture back with his queen, and we have what's called checkmate. So checkmate is when your opponent's king is in check and they have no safe squares to move to. Because as we see, this king can't capture this queen because the rook is defending the queen, and the king has no safe squares it can move to. So that would be game over, and white would win this game. Then we have what's called stalemate. So let's say the white queen were to move here. So now black's king has no squares it can move to. As we said, the king can move 1 square, up, down, diagonal, but the king is not in check. So this would be game over, and the game would end in a tie. So in order for white to win this game, you'd have to get checkmate. So if you were to move here, now the king is under attack and it has no squares. Now white wins the game. Lastly, I want to go over castling. So castling is when once you haven't moved your king and your rook on the sides, you've gotten your knights and bishops or your queen out of the way, the king can do a special move here. So the king can move 2 squares to either side, and the rook is going to hop over the king. So the idea is that the king is going to be much safer over here, tucked behind these pawns and out of the way of these rooks, than it is if you leave it in the center. And similarly, you can do it on the king side, or you can do it on the queen side. So if I were to do it on this side, the king would do the same thing, hop over 2 spaces, and the rook can hop over the king. However, if you've ever moved your king or your rook, you can no longer castle. So for example, if I were to move my king here, and then my opponent makes a move, now I can no longer castle because I've already moved this king. And similarly, if I move this rook, now I can no longer castle on this side. But I can still castle on this side as long as I don't move this rook or this king. So now I just want to go over some basic puzzles. So right here, white can capture a piece. So if you want to take a look and see what piece white can capture, go ahead. So we see white can capture this pawn over here. However, I'm going to ask, is that a good move? And hopefully you would say no, because now black can capture this knight back with his knight. So you see white gave up his knight for a pawn, but remember we said a knight is worth 3 points, a pawn is worth 1. So we wouldn't want to capture that. You always want to look for your opponent's threats when you see you can capture a piece. Next, I'm going to ask, do you think the white rook should capture this bishop? So as we said, a rook is worth 5 points, right? Bishop is worth 3. So if I were to move up and capture this bishop, I would get a bishop which is worth 3 points, but this queen can capture this rook, which is worth 5 points, right? So that wouldn't be a good trade. We don't want to give up a more valuable piece for a weaker piece. So whenever you see you can capture a piece, always look to see if it's defended. Next, let's say this bishop, let's say white makes a move, black moves his bishop here. So now black is hitting our queen. Should white capture the bishop, or should white move his queen out of the way somewhere else? All right, so hopefully you said you can capture this bishop, right? Because we see there's nothing defending it. So now my queen is safe and I got a free bishop. And last question, should this bishop capture this rook over here? So hopefully you said yes, right? Because we said a rook is worth 5 points. So we got a rook. Although we lose our bishop, we got a more valuable piece for our less valuable piece. So right there, that would be considered a good trade. So whenever you're deciding on a trade, always remember this model over here. Look to see the value of the piece and make sure that you're getting a more valuable piece or less valuable piece when deciding to make a trade. All right, thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a lot to take in for one video, but I will be breaking down the game in steps and kind of make more videos to kind of get you guys get you guys used to it. So thank you guys, and I hope to be back with more. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the video. If you are interested in learning more about the Gifted Chest or interested in having chess sets provided for your facility, please contact us at prisonoutreach@thegiftedchess.org, or you can mail us at P.O. Box 1842, Hutchinson, Kansas. Please log on to our website as well, www.thegiftedchess.org. Thanks and bye.